We're diving into a story of faith and resilience today.
Yeah, from the Book of Mormon.
Specifically, Alma chapter 20.
It's about Ammon.
He's a missionary,
Right, and he gets this call to action from God.
a rescue mission to free his imprisoned brethren.
What's really fascinating here is how it shows faith in action.
Not just about believing, but what you do with it.
Exactly like when you're not sure of the way forward.
And you see that right away.
Yeah.
Alma 20.2. The voice of the Lord came to Ammon, saying, Thou shalt not go up to the land of Nephi, for behold, the king will seek thy life, but thou shalt go to the land of Midoni. For behold, thy brother Aaron, and also Moloki and Alma, are in prison.
Wow, so specific, right?
He's warned.
But he also has a clear mission.
Totally. And what's interesting to me is how direct it is.
Yeah.
No big explanation or map or anything.
It's just go here, not there. And that's it.
I think it really highlights the trust that comes with faith.
Absolutely.
Trusting that God has the answers even when we don't.
And that he'll guide us.
And Ammon doesn't even hesitate.
He just goes for it.
He says to Lamoni in verse 3, Behold, my brother and brethren are imprisoned at Midoni, and I go that I may deliver them.
Such a simple statement, but it speaks volumes.
About his character for sure.
And his unwavering faith.
It's like he's saying, this is what has to happen, and I'm the one to do it.
Reminds me of that verse in James 2.17. Even so, faith, if it hath not works, is dead being alone.
Right. Ammon's faith is very much alive.
It's active.
And it's this bold action that sets the whole story in motion.
Yeah.
But he's not alone on this journey, is he?
No, he's not.
Lamoni, the king's son, insists on going with him.
Lamoni's loyalty is pretty amazing.
Especially when you consider he's still new to this faith.
He's seen how powerful Ammon's belief is.
And he's drawn to it.
But he hasn't had years of experience.
Or studying the scriptures to really back him up.
Yet he chooses to stand by Ammon.
Even when his own father is against it.
You see that in Alma 20.7.
Lamoni says to Ammon, Come, I will go with thee down to the land of Midoni, and there I will plead with the king that he will cast thy brethren out of prison.
Such a strong commitment.
Makes you think about what true loyalty means.
Right. It's easy to be loyal when everything's going great.
But when there's opposition, when there's risk, that's when it's really tested.
Totally.
And the opposition they face is intense.
Oh, yeah.
They run into Lamoni's father, the king.
And let's just say he is not happy.
Not thrilled at all.
There's so much tension in that scene.
You can feel it.
The king represents that deep-seated prejudice.
And the fear that often comes with cultural clashes.
He just doesn't trust the Nephites.
It's so clear in his words.
Yeah.
In Alma 20.10 and 13, he questions Lamoni.
Asking, Whither art thou going with this Nephite, who is one of the children of a liar? Behold, he robbed our fathers, and now his children are also come amongst us, that they may, by their cunning and their lyings, deceive us, that they again may rob us of our property. You can just hear the anger.
And resentment.
He's holding on to these old beliefs.
Stereotypes.
That stop him from seeing Ammon for who he really is.
And this leads to a really tense confrontation.
Uh-oh.
Where the king orders his own son to kill Ammon.
What?
And forget about the rescue mission.
Wow.
It's such a pivotal moment.
It is.
Because Lamoni chooses to stand up to his father.
He does.
In Alma 20.15, he bravely says, I will not slay Ammon, neither will I return to the land of Ishmael, but I go to the land of Midoni, that I may release the brethren of Ammon, for I know that they are just men and holy prophets of the true God.
So brave.
Going against his own father.
It speaks to the power of faith.
To transform us.
Lamoni has found something that really speaks to him.
Something worth defying cultural norms for.
And even his family.
And it's not just about defying his dad.
No.
It's about standing up for what he knows is true.
That's faith in action.
Just like Ammon.
And those actions have consequences.
They do.
The king is enraged by his son's defiance.
So angry.
He draws his sword to strike him down.
Scary situation.
Terrible.
The king is just blinded by rage.
Not thinking clearly.
And that's when Ammon steps in.
He does.
Putting himself between the king and Lamoni.
Wow.
Not to fight?
But to plead for Lamoni's life.
Right.
In verses 17 and 18, Ammon urges the king, saying, Behold, thou shalt not slay thy son. Nevertheless, it were better that he should fall than thee. For behold, he has repented of his sins. But if thou shouldst fall at this time in thine anger, thy soul could not be saved. And again, it is expedient that thou shouldst forbear. For if thou shouldst slay thy son, he being an innocent man, his blood would cry from the ground to the Lord his God for vengeance to come upon thee, and perhaps thou wouldst lose thy soul.
Ammon is so courageous in that moment.
He's risking his own life to protect Lamoni.
It's more than just physical courage, though. It's
Yeah.
spiritual courage, too.
He's speaking truth to power.
Reminding the king about the eternal consequences of what he's doing.
He's powerful.
And he does it all with compassion.
He does.
He's not trying to condemn the king.
No.
He's trying to appeal to his sense of justice. He's essentially saying, there's a better way. Choose repentance, not anger. Choose life, not death.
Beautiful.
But the king doesn't back down right away.
Oh, no.
His anger has completely taken over.
Oh, wow.
He lashes out at Ammon.
Trying to strike him down.
And what does Ammon do?
I don't know. Does he fight back?
It's interesting he doesn't.
He doesn't.
Verse 20 says, Ammon withstood his blows and also smote his arm that he could not use it.
So he defends himself.
But only enough to stop the king's attack.
Not to hurt him.
Even in self-defense, he's showing restraint.
In mercy.
So does the king finally come around?
I wonder. It's realizing that Ammon could ended it right there.
But didn't.
That really gets to the king.
It's like being shown mercy when you don't deserve it.
It totally disarms him.
Like his own hatred and prejudice are staring back at him.
And in that moment of mercy, something cracks open in him.
You can see his perspective shifting in verse 23.
Where he says, if thou wilt spare me, I will grant unto thee whatsoever thou wilt ask, even to half of the kingdom.
Wow, talk about a turnaround.
From wanting Ammon dead to offering him anything.
It's incredible the transformation that grace can bring.
It really is.
So what does Ammon ask for?
Yeah, rich as power, he could have demanded something for himself.
After all that.
It would have been understandable.
But that's what makes his response so powerful.
He doesn't take advantage.
He stays focused on helping others.
In verse 24, he says, if thou wilt grant that my brethren may be cast out of prison, and also that Lamoni may retain his kingdom, and that ye be not displeased with him, but grant that he may do according to his own desires in whatsoever thing he thinketh, then will I spare thee. Otherwise, I will smite thee to the earth.
He wants his brothers freed.
And Lamoni to be safe.
It's selfless.
Such a beautiful example of Matthew 6.33. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
Ammon is focused on doing God's will.
On service and compassion.
And that's what leads to the breakthrough.
It really is through that mercy and selflessness that the king truly starts to change.
He's witnessed something amazing.
Something that changes how he sees the world.
And it leaves him wanting more.
Yeah, he goes from anger to curiosity, and in that vulnerable moment, the king grants Ammon's requests.
Lamoni keeps his kingdom.
And the brothers are freed from prison.
An outcome that seemed impossible just minutes before.
That's the power of faith.
Moving mountains and changing hearts.
And the story doesn't stop there.
Ammon's brothers have been through so much.
Unimaginable hardship.
They finally see him again.
But what a state they must have been in.
Verse 29 paints a pretty bleak picture. And when Ammon did meet them, he was exceedingly sorrowful. For behold, they were naked, and their skins were worn exceedingly, because of being bound with strong cords. And they also had suffered hunger, thirst, and all kinds of afflictions.
It makes you think about the price they paid for their beliefs.
Injustice, cruelty, deprivation.
Yet their spirits didn't break.
They never gave up on their faith.
Even in the darkest times.
And that resilience is inspiring.
It says in that same verse that they were patient in all their sufferings.
No bitterness, no despair.
They endured it all with faith, knowing God was with them.
I think that resonates with anyone who's faced their own spiritual prisons.
There's times when life just feels dark and hopeless.
It shows how powerful faith is.
To sustain us through those trials.
It's one thing to talk about faith when things are good.
Yeah, but it's those moments of suffering, of being tested, when faith is really refined.
Their story encourages us to have that kind of unwavering faith.
And resilience in our own lives.
So what about the king? Does this change in him last?
What happens next?
His change of heart is clear in verse 27.
What does he say?
He tells Ammon, and I will also grant unto thee that thy brethren may be cast out of prison, and thou and thy brethren may come unto me in my kingdom. For I shall greatly desire to see thee. For the king was greatly astonished at the words which he had spoken, and also at the words which had been spoken by his son Lamoni. Therefore he was desirous to learn them.
Wow, so he's not just letting them go.
He wants to know more about their faith.
He's curious.
He wants to explore something new.
Proof that even the hardest hearts can be touched by love and forgiveness.
It gives us hope that even when we're facing opposition,
Where people just don't get it.
that our actions can make a difference.
Maybe in ways we never imagined. Like he saw a glimpse of something bigger.
Than himself.
Yeah, something that challenged everything he thought he knew.
And it made him curious.
It did.
He went from wanting to kill Ammon to wanting to learn from him.
to understand that strength and conviction.
It's amazing what an impact we can have on people
when we truly live our faith.
This story from Alma 20 has so much to say.
About faith.
Courage.
And resilience.
It makes you think about your own life.
It does.
Are we really living our faith?
Talking about it.
Are we standing up for what we believe in, even when it's hard?
Are we showing grace and compassion?
Even to those who don't seem to deserve it.
Like Ammon did for the king.
These are important questions.
They are.
This story shows that even when things seem hopeless, miracles can happen.
Hearts can change. The key is to stay strong in our faith.
Like Ammon and his brothers did.
And to show grace and compassion.
Even when it's tough.
It's a reminder that our actions matter.
Even small acts of faith and kindness can make a difference.
They can create real change in the world.
Thank you for joining us for this look at Alma 20.
We hope you found it inspiring.
Be sure to follow our podcast and subscribe for more discussions on faith-inspiring stories. Thanks for listening.